Hey guys, it's Casual Friday, and that means it's Nancy Matz Friday, and we're going to be talking aliens, UFOs, and UAPs. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to Happy Friday. Hang on one second, let me do this before something else goes wrong. Okay, my name is Charlotte. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm also the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team, based out of Sacramento, California. We are 45 strong up and down the state, which means if you have you think you have a paranormal issue, we can get to you. It may take us a while. California is a big state. And what people don't realize when they think of California, they think of us like Hawaii with beaches and surfing and all that good stuff. Well, we do have that. But there's also a lot of farmland, there's deserts, there's high deserts, there's mountains. And so it might take us, even though we have people up and down the state, it might take us a couple days to get to you. But that's why we have psychics on staff, psychics and mediums on staff, who can call you and talk with you about what may or may not be going on. And in most cases, they can kind of calm things down for you before we get out there. Okay, but we will get out there. All right, here's knocking on wood with the internet. I reset my router 2 or 3 times today, and when I went in to do the intro for the show, I was still having major issues. And then I turned around and turned on my internet enhancer, which I have no clue, even if it's, I don't think it's designed for this new router. But I have a green light. And so far, there hasn't been a drop-off. If you guys watched the intro, there hasn't been a drop-off. So let's cross our fingers, right? Yesterday was just absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare. And I'm glad that my guest was very good about it. So we reset for next week. Okay. That being said, I got a few announcements to make. Tuesday is going to be a full moon. August 1st, full moon. And I'm going to be doing a full moon meditation. And if anybody's interested in doing a full moon guided meditation, come on over to the California Haunts Meetup. And this meditation, you can set stuff forward. Like, for instance, if there's things that you haven't accomplished or finished, or there's things you want to accomplish, this is the way to do it. You can do it to the full moon. You can say it at the full moon. Any worries you might have, anything like that, cast it off during the full moon. That's what the full moon affirmation is about. So I'm going to take you through a guided meditation, and we can start August clean and cleansed, right? And there should be another full moon, too, coming up behind that one. And that's going to take us into the fall, right? You can start all fresh for the fall. So that's something I'm doing. August 5th, I'm teaching a psychic development class, basic class, for people that just started to feel like they have psychic abilities, or people that might think they might have psychic abilities. I teach a class where I show you how to handle your abilities. And I know when I say handle, I say that in the most delicate way, because Nancy will agree with me that newer psychics tend to go in whole hog because it's new to them and it's exciting to them. And they'll open up that psychic door. And once that door is open, not everything nice is going to come through. Okay? So I teach you. I'm self-taught. I teach you how to open and close that psychic door so that nothing negative can come through at you. In the meantime, while I'm teaching you to do this, you get to visit you get to visit your spirit library, you get to visit your spirit guide, you get to visit your spirit animal, see your spirit object, you even get a little note from your guide. I'm going to teach you how to do all that stuff. So that would be Sunday, August 5th. I believe it's a 7 p.m. class, Pacific. Also on the 6th, I've opened up a few more spots on my paranormal team for investigators. And you can also do that. And we're real, I say, stingy on how we investigate. We're real meticulous about our investigations and the way we help people. So if you're looking to join a paranormal team here in Northern California or even in SoCal, let me know. Come on over to the meetup. The links for the psychic development class and the Sturgeon Moon are in the description of the show. So just go on down the bottom and they're there. And if you want to get involved with the paranormal team, once you get on the page, I didn't put a link there, but once you go into look at the Sturgeon Moon or whatever, that puts you at the meetup page, so you can go ahead and click on events and find it there. Okay, but we're looking to do that, and I'm looking to build up my paranormal team, and we're just about where I want to be with it. Just about. I'd like to have quite a few people on my team because people have lives and, they might decide that they can't make an investigation or something or emergencies come up, that I have a big pool to pull from. As you can tell, there's 45 up and down the state. But, locally and up in the Gold Country, we're trying to build all this up with the Bay Area with this into California. Okay? All right. If you're watching from Facebook tonight, and a lot of you are, please be sure to hit those like buttons, hit those thumbs up buttons, hit those smiley faces, show us some love, because when you do that, it helps us get higher in the FYP on Facebook, which means the show gets distributed to a lot more people. Okay? And that helps us in the long run. Also, comment. Feel free to comment. Comments help us too. The more comments, the better. And I don't know what that 200 coin thing is. That's down at the bottom. The 200 star thing is. I got no clue. I didn't do that. That's something Facebook did. You do not need 200 stars to comment. Okay? Your comments are going to show no matter what. No matter what. Even though if you'd like to donate 200 stars, I wouldn't complain. It didn't come from me. Same thing with YouTube. Okay? I want the more likes, the more comments, and all that you do puts us higher FYP. People can find us. Also, if you're watching from Facebook or YouTube and you like what you see, on Facebook there's a follow button if you haven't done so already. On YouTube there's a subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We're looking for subscribers. We're trying to build up to where we can monetize. I want to be able to monetize and be able to afford to keep the show on the air. I mean, that's the whole key of monetization, is to try and keep the show on the air, just like Facebook stars, right? And that thing that runs along the bottom down there about donations. I want to keep this show on the air. I can't do it if there's no... Okay? I'm not begging, I'm just saying. That's a whole part of signing up to subscribe and follow and donate stars and do all that stuff. It's all part. It's all part of it. I'm not going to sit here and beg for money. I'm just telling you. Okay. That being said, Nancy and I had a different topic we were going to talk about tonight, but in light of the last few days and the news the last few days, we decided to talk about UAPs, UFOs, and aliens. And what I find fascinating, I actually did research on this. I've been so working on my freelance stuff that I haven't really been paying attention to what's going on in the paranormal world. So this UAP thing was new to me until it came up the other night, and it was kind of cool because it came up on my TikTok the other night, and I saw it. So I saw part of this interview, and it makes a lot of sense with something I've been talking about for a long time on this show, and that was the pictures in Argosy magazine of the alien bodies. It makes a lot of sense. So we're going to get into that tonight. And in the meantime, we are broadcasting live, and if you want to find California Haunts, you can find us everywhere on Facebook, even under my personal name. You can find us at Instagram under Ghosty Gal. You can find us at TikTok under California Haunts. You can find us over YouTube under California Haunts Radio, and that address is youtube.com/at California Haunts Radio. Or you can do youtube.com/at California Haunts. Either one. It'll come up. Twitter, we are at California Haunts. And then Twitch, I think we are Cal Haunts. So hello, Twitch. I know you guys are watching over at Twitch. Everybody's watching. So anyway, let's see what happens tonight. I mean, the problems we had last night was bad enough. I was blinking out into that area, that space where Mario lives. But then the minute I pulled somebody up on screen, StreamYard had issues holding two of us on screen. And that's because the internet was so bad. So we shall see. We shall see if what I did today actually worked. Because it looked like it wasn't going to work earlier. In fact, when I shot the intro, it usually takes me about 3 seconds to, it usually uploads. Because see how short the intro is. And today it took me 15 minutes to get that intro uploaded into StreamYard system. So that wasn't cool. That's what made me turn on the enhancer finally. So hopefully the green light, hopefully it has enhanced the internet like it's supposed to. In a perfect world, I have 3 enhancers hooked up, and there's one in the hallway, one right by my door, and then one coming into here. Because back here tends to have, it's more soundproof back here. Where I was over there in the other studio, it's a straight shot down the hallway from where my router is. But with this, it's coming in. It comes to this room is more soundproof, so it's harder for the internet to get in here. So that's why I tend to have issues in here. But hopefully it holds. So without further ado, let's get Nancy in here. Let's talk aliens. Let's talk dead aliens. Let's talk all kinds of aliens. We're just talking aliens today. Here we go.
There's 2 or 3 different ways that I've been at this all day. I was watching Ancient Aliens for about 5 hours. Not really, about 3.5 hours. I did a lot of errands this morning, and when I sat down, I do emails and all kind, and I had Ancient Aliens on, Shar, and it was, oh my gosh, anyway, I get fired up over this because it's not a topic or an area that most people talk to me about. But I
No.
I want to back up and show them where my interest started.
I just had a thought though, real quick.
But
With these aliens coming to Earth like they are, if that's what it actually is, what they need to do is not land amongst the regular people because people will be scared, right? They should land on the set of like the Mandalorian. They should land in Lucasfilm. Land on the set of Star Trek. Because that way they'll just figure they're like extras.
they don't know any different. They did land in Las Vegas. They crashed in Las Vegas, and I think that. Oops, I got a that flew my eye.
I'm just saying that it's a joke, that if they landed like on a TV show set, like the Mandalorian, or in the middle of a Star Wars movie being filmed, or in the middle of a Star Trek being filmed.
I really don't have a sense of that happening. Sure.
I know, I'm just saying they can fold themselves in. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
This is a very
see this guy here. See, yeah, okay.
Right. Okay. Okay.
All right.
This is Char was 8 months back, 6 8 months back. We were kind of working, we do a lot of conversation about doing the show, and eventually I'm going to start again on my shows, and what am I going to do? What's she going to do? And I said to her one day, I called up, I said, Char, I think you should do alien UFO out in the field investigations. We do that. And I must have asked her 3 times. I said, now, Char, this is really going to get big. Who knew 6 months later, we'd have to look up and see if I know you write down notes, and I just talk. I got an idea and I call you and I said, we have to do this. Something's really going to blow up here. And it was around 3.5 years ago. My husband and I were going to Las Vegas, probably 3, 4. And we were driving the big freeways to Las Vegas, and it was, he has family there. And I was sitting there, all of a sudden I was looking at the sky and I said, they're going to let themselves be known. We are not alone. And I told Larry, my husband, and he looked at me, well, okay. And I says, it's coming. And about 6 months, by the time I was telling Char, we need to do this, I had been thinking about it for a couple of months, do something really fun. Let's go out in the field somewhere. If I can do this, can I do that? Can I say, okay, I feel them showing up there. Why not? Why can't I do that?
No.
Right. So we need to do that.
Right. The question I have in all this is, all this news has come out this week, obviously.
Right. Well, it's been coming out because the 3 pilots in there.
Have you noticed something, though?
What's that?
There's no public. There's nothing in the public about, oh my God, it's aliens or any of this. We are all so busy worrying about feeding ourselves and paying our bills and watching what's going on politically.
Right. The political noise is getting in the way.
Yeah.
I was
has blinked. Yeah, nobody has blinked.
I think that we've been piecemealed a little bit. I think the UFO exposures, the Navy said, well, they have 240 reports ready to be released or something. That's like bizarre number of pilots are going up there and coming back. Well, if I say this, it's the end of my career. How about the airline pilots that have lost their jobs over this? And it just endless. And I do really like not only Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, where ordinary people, everyday Americans are going outside and pointing to the sky. Maybe I should do that tonight. Everybody, we've been moving 2 weeks ago. We got into the new house, and it's further up the hill in the mountains and the trees, like I talked last time. And it's not as noise, light noise. It's darker here because we're out of Oroville. We're up toward the lake. And that's a good idea. Now, the front of our property here, we have a big view overlooking the lake direction, and there's no light noise, they call it. And it would be fun to do that. Not that I'm asking you to drive up here, but I really am interested in this because of Ancient Aliens for the last 17, 18 years. I actually, everybody I talked to about, oh, I watched that show 3 times. Well, so have I, that episode talking about aliens.
And
And
if it helps, if you're going
pardon
to
me?
be out there looking up, and if you're going to be looking into your sky, okay, it helps. There's an app, okay, you guys, to make sure you know what you're looking at. There is an app that will tell you where all the satellites are.
Oh,
So if you see something moving above you, you can look on the app and say, "Oh, it's such and such satellite."
I like that. Do you have the
But
name
then
of
you
it?
look down and it's not, and there's no satellite there. You know.
My first husband and I, we did a lot of camping, and I'm still a camping nut. I love that. And I remember going out with 4 or 5 different couples, and we were watching the sky, and we did see satellites that we knew of at the time, that they were satellite, the way they traverse the island from east to west or whatever, however, and they were smooth and no light. They just were like that. But that's when my interest in UFO really, I thought, what else is up there? And of course, you're not going to say to people, by the way, it's 1980. And I'm interested in UFOs. They're going to look at you like, oh, right, right. But after watching these Ancient Aliens, the history, the science station, all these that are encourage us to think about those. I noticed that the screen froze a couple of times there. So I'm going to move.
It's better than it was.
Looks like we may
trust
lose me in a minute.
However, I am not
Better than
getting, because it shows me an indication, if the internet is shaky. I haven't got any kind of indication, as far as seeing the little internet thing come up. So that's a good sign. I mean, this is compared to yesterday.
Yeah, I watched yesterday's show and I was really sorry. You did a good job handling it. I have here about 10 articles that I could read off to you people. You could do the same, but I will just mention them as we go on. I want to give you a little history of why I'm so interested in it. I have Barney Bill original VHS cassette. I have 2 of the books. I have been interested in reincarnation forever, but while I'm looking, I have found many other opportunities to read up on UFOs, both good and bad. From the early English countryside investigators going out and finding a man who looks like he's fallen from the sky on a pile of debris like coal, and it looks like he froze to death falling from the sky. I mean, come on, right? And these things always intrigue me, not as interesting as I'm able to see ghosts and spirit people. That's interesting. But when you've been doing it for 33 years, another spirit person just showed up in my room, or you're a spirit person standing next to you. By the way, you have your uncle with you tonight. He's really interested in this. Be curious if you know of your uncle being interested in you. He's standing right behind your hat. He's kind of looking. And it's funny because he's squatted down trying to look at the screen with you. He's going, oh, let me look here. What are you looking at? Well, I see her.
I don't know if he was into that, but you never know. He lives by himself a lot out in the country sometimes. Who knows?
What did he live in the country?
Well, kind of. He never really lived in Los Angeles. He always lived in the outskirts up in Calabasas and stuff. So.
Well, as long as there's a lot of lights, he probably did see things. After the show's over, why don't you ask him, see if he gives you some answers? But he's kind of laughing at us now. He's kind of said it. Huh?
Keep my internet working. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to point out is that I've been doing some dumpster dives on the internet, and I'm trying to find reference to that Argosy magazine, to the alien bodies that I saw when I was a kid. Somewhere there's reference to it.
Right. But there's so much of it. Everybody knows I started this in May of 1990, and I lived in Sacramento off Watt Avenue. And I had first, I can't help it. It's just like this goes blink. Now I've turned it off, but I was talking about people in their family. I talked to people like, was it yesterday? Lady calls me up, and all of a sudden I saw these spirit people around her. It's kind of, anyway. So Richard Boylan, very big name in UFO community. I don't know. He might be in his early 80s today. I don't know. I haven't talked to him for a while. Anyway, he connected early 90s, 92, 93. And he came a couple of times, and one of them was for an incident of his traveling. He did a lot of cross-country travel, not like huge amounts, but he did. He was very interested in some of the that Roswell incident and some of the military bases. Very learned man. And sometimes when we get our life is buried into what we do for a living, sometimes you have to pick something to kind of pull us out of that place. Like early in my career, because I was young, I would have a lot of women talk about boyfriends. Well, you get drowned in that. You just like, let's talk about something else, and UFO would be of interest to me. And I really looked into the Betty and Barney Hill, their niece UFO.
Marsden, Kathleen Marsden.
Yeah, she was into it. So anyway, he came to me once, and then he came back. Well, the first time was he was going across country and he had an incident, and I have not talked to him. I shouldn't share his private encounter, but it was similar to the Betty and Barney Hill. Whoops. I don't know where my phone is. I hope it's not ringing. Okay, so it's similar to that, but I can't say more. And then, so anyway, had that incident, and then he came back and talked to me about going across country, and he'd heard that this is back in 92, 93, that there was a government installation where they had put UFOs. And I described what this mountain looked like, and it was 3 layers. And then I gasped because there had been an explosion and people were hurt and equipment was damaged. And he actually found out, I don't know how, but a government agency located near where I was talking about had an unfortunate explosion. Guess what? They back engineered something and it blew up. I mean, wow, things like that happen. And that was kind of like, I was now talking about something I was now being faced with something that happened to him. The incident, and then this, and then the third time I went to Sacramento to meet him in his office, and he had an archaeologist there. And the archaeologist was going to go down, I believe, Peru. And he believed in ancient aliens. And of course, this was before it was interesting, the topic of 18 years of ancient aliens. And I don't remember the name. It'd be nice if Mr. Boylan would reach out to me and let me know what happened. Anyway, so I did what I did. I got the map out and I started describing a gentleman inside a very large cave-looking environment, but I felt like he was in a temporary place. I know, honey. So I got to explain this. The robes were magnificent, and he seemed to be tall. I'm 5'4". So anybody over 5'10" looks tall to me. So he looked tall. He had ropes that goes to the ground and it kind of flared out. It looked rich to me. And what caught my eye, now this is 93 probably, he had his hand up and it was something on his palm of his hand. It was really black. And he was looking at it and he was doing this. And I was trying to explain, he's got a book or something and he's tapping it with his finger. And that made me think that he was closing it down. And then the next thing I know is he walks to the left and disappears. He went somewhere out of I couldn't see. Why couldn't I see? Was it he was stepping into a UFO or was he going to go underground? I didn't know, but I did explain to him. I says, you have a chance to find the remnants of this. And I explained that I didn't feel like the cave was inside. It was accessible. So what does that mean? I had absolutely no reference to what we know today. And that was so long ago. He did write me up on UFO magazine, and the issue would be 92, 93. And the cover of it is what we call the typical gray, great big face around the cover. I have it, but I just moved. And it was like, oh my gosh, what box is it in? But I did grab I did grab a couple of books to just show you. And this is the only ones I could find. Of course, Rod Steiger was very interesting, Art Bell. And of course, I got a couple of their books, The Source. The UFO Investigator's Handbook, of course, clearly I wanted to get into it and look at everything I could. And then, of course, there's the Encounter in the Pleiades, the Inside Look at UFOs. Oops. I have a dozen books, and my interest was to do this, yet what I'm better at, this is just a hobby kind of a thing, is help people in their lives. And that took over. I got very busy in all kinds of lectures, travel, and events, and my own practice. So that kind of overtook it. But I want to back up. The Betty and Barney Hill got my interest. And there are many, many links to these interviews and the doctors. I have the originals. So it's kind of fun. Like, how long do you keep it? So I wanted to look down here. As time went on, I got married again in 2003. And Larry said I would love to go ahead. I wrote some notes so I wouldn't forget. Of course, I always do. We moved to Arizona, to Tucson, Arizona. And people said, what did you do that for? Well, I had, in 2005, when we investigated, going there at 6 rather, I had been working so much, 6 days a week. Sometimes people say I'd work 7 days a week with clients all day long. And at one point, I kind of thought maybe I was picking something up that it was too much for me. And was I sabotaging my career? No, because I had phone, and I thought, well, I'll just take these clients with me. And it did happen that way. Unknowing to me, because I'm not psychic for my own life, we can't do ourselves. I moved to Arizona, and then to Sierra Vista, and of course, the stock market changed, and I was caught up with it as everybody else. But while I was there, we had lived in Sierra Vista, and then we had to move back to Tucson. And I was still teaching classes. They had something similar to the Learning Exchange. I was teaching a lot of classes there. It was very, very fun. Past life regression, psychic development. It was a lot of, I just really loved doing that sort of thing. But I was coming home in my yellow Volkswagen. Everybody knows my yellow Volkswagen, who I just gave to my granddaughter. And I was driving, and a bright light encompassed me, the whole car. And like, boom, like this. And it was between Sierra Vista, of those very, very long desert roads, to Branson, which was at a corner between Sierra Vista and the highway going toward Tucson. And I remember I had just joined MUFON. And so that was in my mind. And I got involved with it about the investigative. I signed up. I signed all the papers. We were going to get involved. And it was very, very fun. And then it was like, poof, no sound. And I remember thinking, no, you don't lift your foot off that gas. You speed up. You will not let them. And of course, when I got home, Larry didn't say, you're late. What's wrong? Because it could be hours I'm at the class. It was 3-4 hours. If I did past life regressions, I could be there 3 hours easily. And I remember thinking, and almost wish I had slowed down and stopped. Now, people could say, well, there's a military base there. They were looking for migrant illegals coming over because they had a lot of, Sierra Vista in Arizona was right against the border of Mexico. And of course, we did have people over, but truly, there was no sound. And I remember thinking, what a bright light. I am not slowing down. And that was all there was. And so that really was interesting. The other time was when we were in the spa. All my adult life, I've had a spa. And we were out in the backyard in Tucson. And there's no trees and brush, brand new subdivision. And we had that bright light in the sky incident again. But it traversed the valley. And I remember Larry and I talking about, was that a meteorite? I don't know. It was almost like the March 13th incident over the Phoenix area. It was across the sky, but I never heard anything in the news about it. And that was probably 08, 09. And that's that. So shortly after that, I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and they said I'd had at least 10 years. So my worry about overworking, maybe relocating for my health, was legitimate, because so I was sick for 10 years with Graves' disease. And of course, it hurts every organ in your body. And I saved myself, I think. Anyway, that's it. I'm going down. So 6 months ago, I brought up the idea of Shar, please, let's go out and do this. I think it'll be very, very fun. I don't know, this awful heat, where would we go high enough? Well, the cost of gasoline yesterday, I got gas at $4.45 a gallon. And my husband said this morning, he says, I think the gas went 20 or 30 cents overnight. I said, yeah, it did, because I paid $4.45 yesterday. And that's just hurt my brain just thinking about how so many people I talk to are having such a hard time with finances. Anyway, going back, I think that another thing too is I love history and all of the TV shows and what I read and everything. Ancient aliens brought my attention to ancient civilizations, and particularly Australia and the African nation and the Egyptian nation and the Indian nations, where they have talked about even our biblical pictures of the Madonna. There's a UFO up there, and 1500s in Europe, they talk about the great battle in the sky, and someone painted the cylinders and the balls fighting each other. And what about the Brahmanas from India? You know, how they would come in flying ships, and everybody dismisses it. And well, after hearing this on TV, I know everybody's going, oh, it's quiet. Why are the big guys who objected to all this? And I'm going to talk about, I was going to say Neil something or other, but I think it's not
Hey, hold on a second. I'm going to pull you out of there and put you back in, because you are like a Japanese horror movie, it's a Godzilla movie right now. You're not synced in. So let me do this. Okay, we'll get you back in. Okay. All right.
Am I moving too quickly or talking too fast? Does that have
You're
something
okay
to do?
right now. I don't know what's doing it. Well, I don't. Just, yeah, okay, let's go. At least it's holding. That's all I can say.
I moved from a 5G to a 4. Hi, sweetie. A 4G. So I also could have problems here, which I didn't know. So anyway, the ancient peoples of our planet worship the stars and said their gods came from there. We came from there. And the Australian Aborigines and the Indians and the Africans and places where in South America where you could go and find these carvings on cliffs and hidden away about the worship of the star peoples. How many times have we heard that? And do we as a civilized current people, oh, we dismiss it, they're just crazy, you know? What do they know? Well, I believe it's all real. And yes, the inventions and things that how they did their world, at some point, do we still question how they did the pyramids? Well, I don't know about that, but I would certainly like to question the people who built the Peruvian mountain fort where the stones were melted and put in place. Tell me, how did they do that? What's it, Machu Picchu, where the stones are so perfect, no one can understand how, first off, how they got up there, let alone how they fit together with a business card can't even fit in there. Around the world, they have those kinds of structures. And even on Malta, where they have underground this and that, and they have wagon wheels that go across the mountain. I mean, there's things that I could take all night talking about. I didn't have enough time because we thought about this last night to come up with the names. But, you know, there's enough you can look up all this stuff over next week and read as much up as you want. And to be discredited. I was listening to a show yesterday afternoon. Tom Sullivan talked about and allow people to call in what they think about the UFO. So he is probably one of the bigger names in daytime radio that I get to listen to, talking about the UFO exposure and the House committee. I mean the community Senate committee meetings where these 3 pilots came and they were talking about and other people. It's a 2-hour. Everybody can find it online. I found it on TikTok a 2-hour link to the 2-hour committee meetings. And a friend of mine said there were more people who want to testify, but 3 backed out, fear of being ridiculed. Yet when you go back to how 14, 15 years ago, these pilots were catching pictures of these orbs going through the sky. And my husband said he thinks that they're You know, we have the little drones. We have drones. Those are the UFO people's drones that we're seeing. The thing I question is how can they go so fast if it's just a little drone? Well, clearly, people who are mocking people like me who believe in this said, well, it's thousands of years from here to their planet. How can they? And I think to myself, I'm sorry, you must be stupid. They're a million years ahead advanced of us. What did we do in 100 years from not being able to fly a plane to now going to the moon? Clearly, what is the thousands, 2,000, 5,000
The
years? What did they
the
do
other
then?
thing that's interesting about what you're saying as well is during World War One and World War Two, the pilots were seeing these things, and like the U.S. pilots thought it was a weapon that
Yeah,
Germany had, and Germany thought they were
right.
weapons that the U.S. had.
Well, that's another. I mean, we're not. I want to go past all these things building it because clearly the Nazis. There's a lot of shows written up. Did the Nazis have a bell-shaped time ship that
Right.
went back and forth? You know, they talk about that bell-shaped ship. Boy, I say that 3 times. My
Well, that's
allergies.
scary. I think that could come a
Shows
little
up
wrong.
50 years ago in drawings. I mean,
Right.
did they create a time ship? Well, I tell you, if I had a time ship, where would I go? Would I go to when Hitler was shot during the war, World War One, and someone rescued him? What could I do? I read a book maybe 30 years ago, had to be 40 years ago, and it was about a young man who, with help of colleagues, developed a ship. And he said, I want to go back and see Christ. I would too. I want to see Lincoln. You know, and
Let me
I'd
see right
like
here.
to see Cleopatra. I want to see Lincoln. Wouldn't that be fun? Lincoln, of all people, like, wow. Just to
Lincoln
be
would
in,
be cool.
be cool, right? Just to see him. But I had also wanted to see Christ. And I think I had a flash of me being part of the masses that had watched him come out through the desert on a donkey. It's like I was a
Mhm.
little kid looking around the corner at this man. But yet, I think I'd be afraid to go back because what if he isn't as grand as I imagine? I don't want to be
Mhm.
disappointed. Well, that's the premise of a book I read about this scientist, this young man, and he says, I want to go see Christ. And 40, 50 years ago when this book was written, religion was very, very important, more important than it is today. And he goes
Mhm.
back and he says, oh, that's Christ? Uh-oh. And he steps in and he takes his place. So his spaceship is hidden in the forest somewhere. He goes and finds Christ, and Christ is a disappointment. But because he has read up on Christ, he knows what to do. So religion was saved. You know, I don't know. That would frighten me to something as important as that, maybe. That would be difficult. I'd have to be very careful. One of the things I know everybody wants to talk about too is the pyramids. Oh, please, I'd like
Mhm.
to see them build those suckers. And I want to see the rocks that are melted in place. Absolutely.
Mhm.
But I do believe we had religious. There was and this is something I can't remember, but I saw it on a TV show more recent. And it was about this island area or a more remote place on the planet. Could have been somewhere. I mean, there's so many remote
Mhm.
areas. And this village had weather disaster, and they had no food. But they were so primitive, they hadn't seen society like parts of Amazon. So this plane came through and dropped food, and they did that several times and saved these most primitive people. Well, 30 years later, they went back to see if the village was all right. Well, guess what? They had created a new religion, and it was praying to this stick figure of a plane. The gods had saved them. And I do believe, I love that. I love that. I imagine primitive societies rescued by plane dropping food, new religion involved. Type that and find the
Makes perfect
article.
sense. It
Yeah,
makes
right?
sense though. Look at
Yeah, yeah.
the war of Iraq. And I'm not saying they're primitive people. I'm just saying even our drones are so realistic looking that people were surrendering to them.
Right,
So
right. And
everything's
so
possible.
I do believe in the Aborigines and some of these other places where they talk openly about how the gods had given information about the future and that they would come, and it's just how would they make up stories that match everybody else's story on the planet?
Hmm.
Just like the flood is talked about in 7 different religious groups. There had to be something to it, right? And
Well,
so I think,
even the birth of Christ. That I mean,
well,
the Native
it,
Americans have their legends about it. I mean, they're all the way over here. How the hell did they find out what happened? Over in Bethlehem or whatever. So yeah,
well, how about the big star came down? Who says it was a star?
right,
Why not a ship that lit the
right,
way?
absolutely.
That could hurt our heads if we think about it. But
That
the
could hurt our heads.
biblical,
That's why we need to go see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, because that's what that's about. He goes
the
back in time. Yeah.
what show
All
was
right.
this? What show
Indiana
was this?
Jones and the new Indiana Jones movie. He's able to time travel.
Haven't seen it. Is it out
I
now?
haven't
Is that
either.
it?
It's out. Yeah, it's been
Okay.
out for a while. I want to go see it at some
Oh,
point. But
I.
yeah.
Anyway, so the thing that really captured me was the Nephilim, the ancient stories of Greece, in Egypt, where they had the gods that were very large, the gods of
Hmm.
multiple
Hmm.
body shapes and animal heads. I really kind of think there was something to that. Um, uh, and so I go to a place of starting to acknowledge that. Now, let's take it to today. How many countries around the world have embraced UFO activity and we
Hmm.
haven't? Being hidden? Well, during the committee hearings, it was announced that we as a nation have been hiding information from the public since 1930s.
Hmm.
Really? And ships and bodies? And someone's poo-pooing that? These are very qualified people talking. I mean, please come over to dinner and share. Let's talk. I have people call me up and say, I would love to spend the day just talking to you. Can we get together for coffee? And I go, I don't have enough breath in my body anymore for that, but I would love to do it with somebody else. These pilots have seen all this. And of course, how
Hmm.
many shows have we seen where these pilots were interviewed, but no one's paid attention to them?
Hmm.
And like Japan and China have buildings created with across the nations of accepting UFO involvement. No, not everybody. I heard someone say, yeah, but they're getting hurt and cattle are getting mutilated. Yes, there's some countries where, could have been Peru also, or no, Mexico, I think, Costa Rica,
Hmm.
a village where the UFO activity has been unfortunately very damaging, where they have been abducting people and causing damage to their bodies. And my theory, when I talk to a couple of people, probably Shar also, is UFO involvement is to test reproductive organs on cattle and animals, possibly human beings, because we have them disappear. Missing
Hmm.
411 actually believes that we're being abducted by UFOs, peoples.
Hmm.
And I personally, does it mean I have intuitive insight to that? Well, you accept or not accept. I have a gut feeling. I have a
Hmm.
feeling that these organs are being tested to see how far we've poisoned our bodies.
I
And
agree.
that's when they, and I think their activity now, and I've been telling people of you who are watching tonight or hear me, did I talk to you about them coming? I've mentioned it dozens and dozens of times. I have said for the last 2 years, they're going to be seen. They don't want to be hidden anymore. And I actually had experience with one of them. Um, and I am now picking up, and this is last week, actually seen one there on TV. If they come walk up my driveway, by the way, Nancy, we've been talking to you for about 40 years. And I go, okay, 50, 60 years. My daughter has had experience and she doesn't want to talk about it. Cat or something moaning, groaning up there. I think that they need to know what we're doing because of the pollution, the pesticides.
Hmm.
Everybody knows I had cancer, but when my first husband and I were married, we had a big garden, really big garden, like as big as a house garden, like 1,000 square foot garden. And I remember putting pesticides on it to keep the bugs away. And I used to sit in there with shorts on it and pick the weeds out. Now tell me, does that go into the body somewhere and cancer showed up 20 years later? Absolutely. Why not? So I feel
Hmm.
like we're getting contaminated. Now the latest is plastic in our bodies. They're finding out that babies being born, the umbilical cords have a degree of plastic in it, that it's in our bodies. And so I believe that these abductions, unfortunately, I hope human beings are not, but clearly the animals are. They're trying to find out how bad we are if it's in their systems. If
Mm-hmm.
the cows in the fields are being contaminated, what is it doing to inner city peoples, of which
Right.
some have been abducted? It's scary. I think they're trying to help us. I think that we're a primitive, violent group of peoples. I do believe that they are um, tinkering with some of us. And I'm not going to say no to me and anybody like me that tries to be peace. Um, I don't want to over measure my importance. Um, I'm not someone who fights in battles, but look at how many nations are. And someone said, well, they're bad, bad, bad. I think they are bad. They are good. Um, in Middle Europe, the battle of the carvings on wood of the well, there was two or three of them. The Indian peoples also talk about the Ambamas fighting in the
Mm-hmm.
sky. I think there has been battles over possession of our planet. Who's going to own us? Well, no one should own us, but just like any other primitive society and fighting societies like we have now, we're always trying to own somebody. We have a battle going on of one country thinking they own somebody else. I
Right.
don't think I don't think it's just to our planet. I think all peoples, and they have really discovered that the tools that make us, the molecules that make us human or living beings, is in the stones that fall from the sky all over the cosmos. So I feel like that building blocks of life is everywhere. And what makes us so different than any other civilization, because every animal on the planet has a aggressive side to them, unless you're a
Mm-hmm.
turtle civilization where you crawl around the ground, but even they can fight. So I think that we need to be more civilized peoples and not keep shooting up the schools and killing each other randomly or racing the streets and plowing into people and killing
Mm-hmm.
each other because of religion. And that was one of the topics that kind of made me think about this. What are the big religious groups of the world going to do? Well, in the paintings of the Madonna, there's a lot of UFOs. Even the Pope
Mm-hmm.
said, well, they're Christians, they can be Christians too. And I thought, we'll try to do that. We'll talk to him about, would you like to get baptized? You know, but the Pope
Mm-hmm.
okayed it, so it must be okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the Congressional House Committee meeting hold the UFO hearings. I loved it. I didn't watch all of it, but I'm going to go back. And the whistleblowers are so brave. Think about what they're putting on the line for themselves. Yet they're the ones that saw these. And how many
Mm-hmm.
people pilot, just everyday guys, never said anything. If they do, they keep it hidden in the family. We can't say anything. No one's going to believe us. They're going to think we're crackpots. The Las Vegas incident, I think that was a crash. That was my accident, but there was visuals. Now, those people were mocked and ridiculed. No, I'm not going to do that. How about the X-Files? We're going to have a new surgeon watching them. V, where are they here? How about the fella that finds the glasses that allows them? They are here. I think it was something. Put the glasses on, then the face of human is gone, and he sees the mask of the aliens underneath. I think there's a lot of bad aliens as good as aliens, just like on the planet here. There's good and bad everywhere. I think that the
Mm-hmm.
ones that can save us or will try, and as a lot of you know, those missiles that had nuclear armaments in it, and the UFO came up next to it. There was 3 or 4 in a row, and it was talked about on the air. Um, zip, zip, and the rockets got dead. They were dumbed up, dum. Uh, Friendly or foe? If clearly, if there were bad people, bad aliens, we'd all be zapped out and gone. Hello. I'd like mainstream news. I'd like SETI to come forth. I like Neil to come forth and some of these people and say what they think is it, because clearly, just in the last couple of years, they're saying, "Oh, it's lights, it's us trying out new um,
Right.
things," and I don't think so. I think that we have been visited. I think they live in the ground, they live in the water, and they live in our skies. We're just not allowed to see them. My husband believes
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are in skies, um, if we are able to create invisibility, they can too. Hold on a minute. I'm a coffee cup queen. I've talked for hours today already. Why don't you talk for a minute, Char?
Oh yeah, I can do that. I can talk a lot. Well, it's like what Nancy's saying. I still have the belief that it's your neighbor across the street, could be your neighbor next door. You don't realize it because if they've been creating hybrids, the hybrids at this point, after 30 years or 40 years, should look just about like us. There shouldn't be any difference. And I believe that when full disclosure comes, that it's going to be somebody across the street. So it's going to be a block party, and you're going to realize these guys are going to come out from across the street or whatever, and they're going to introduce themselves. It's going to turn out to be aliens. That's
I
my
also believe that. I've had a couple people ask me. There was a couple of reporters interviewing people, and one of them is a beautiful woman being talked to, and I think she's Russian or in that direction of the world because you can't understand her. It's blocked out, and her eyes
right.
shift completely. And people who know me, they say, Nancy, you're 100%. You're human. I go, oh, I don't want that. Don't talk to me like that, because I feel very, very grounded, very human. In fact, more so than most people, I think. And I have to be able to do this for helping people. But I do find it intriguing if all of us were to change a shade of blue or something, that we had alien. I would love it. I would love to think that I got help. But I've had some serious illnesses. Now, how do we know, Shar, also, how do we know that people like us that are very gifted? And I remember I saw my dead father when I was 6.
Right.
In fact, he'd show up and talk, and I'd tell his mother, my grandmother, and I have audio tapes of the conversations we have. Where they are, who knows? It's unreal to real. Probably my sister has an abortion.
Right.
So it goes way back. And people like me, they say, well, let's tag this kind of trinket. Let's twist it. Let's just do a little something here and see what we can get. Get past this, and someone who likes peace and is a peaceful person, maybe they could talk to people in that way. I have no idea. I do feel, and I said it once, I'll say it again, they are here and they want to be known. And that was what I was told when I lived in Hornbrook. It was kind of like a waking dream, but yet I was telling somebody, I was standing next to one. And then the next thing I know, I was on a ship. But before I went there, I looked at him, and it was kind of an insect feeling to him, really long eyes and everything. And we were just standing together, and I couldn't figure out what was I standing there. But I looked at him, and what the suit he had on, like a wetsuit that scuba divers would wear, it was a frosted blue, and it was so tight, but the muscles and everything, it was not an insect. There was movement because of muscle, and so he was very solid. And I looked, I thought, and I said out loud, I says, "You're just beautiful." And everybody tells me, they go, "Oh my God, of course you would say that." I would say something like that if you saw the flowers and the color of my house, because I'm very visual because I'm an artist. And I looked at him and I said, "Oh, you're beautiful." And he tilted his head down like, I've never had anybody tell me that before. And the next thing I'm on a ship. And I remember thinking, well, sure, not very pretty. And I remember looking on the ground and looking at the outline like a plate in the ground, like an elevator come up or down or a plate open. And I could see this hallway, and there were these movable plates on the ground, like pathways or something, or an elevator go up so you go to a lower floor. And it was just really big. I thought to myself, well, this isn't very pretty. I thought it would be prettier. That's all I remember. But it was so real to me. And I thought, well, I sure wish I'd had more experience. I had near-death experience. It was to me, just a blip, not even very interesting. And here I have this experience. It's not very interesting. It's just like, other than he was beautiful. And my friends say, you think that was the only time? Let me tell you, they tweaked you a few more times than you realize. I just have a lot of fun with that. I didn't cover everything, and I can't find the notes of everything I wanted to say. You can see I have 4 pages of single line typing that I want to go, but I think what we are being exposed to, little bit, to get us another story. That's because they are going to have themselves known. And the one that told me, he said, we've been hidden. The idea that he's been here a million years didn't seem unnatural to me. Like we've been here also 400,000 or 500,000 years. And did they tweak? Did the Anunnaki use us for digging for gold? Cowboys and Aliens movie rather, or was it that those are the bad guys? But the idea that we have found civilization, and I think it was Egypt, but I want to say Iran or Pakistan somewhere, where the fellow was going to dig out the bottom of his, I think it was a place where you put food, a cold room. He wanted to make it bigger, and he went into 14 stories below where 30,000 people lived underground. Hello. So the feeling I got from this individual was they'd been living underground, and the ship we were on, as they migrate from to the start and back again, it's like that they're not always here, but they want to live. And the words he said, we want to live on the ground with you. I went, okay, like, who am I? What vote do I have? I'm just like, you're telling me? Well, I'm telling the camera. And maybe that's what people like me are being told. Say that out loud. They want to share our planet. Now, after I thought about it, I says, the Indians in America and other countries where the white man came, particularly Mexico, they didn't fare so well. And so if I thought, well, they want to share our land, where are they going to live? Well, there is a wonderful video of a young man, and it's in a desert country. Like I said, it could have been any of those. It could be, I just don't know. It's a desert country. And they're looking across the desert to the hills on the other side, and a UFO plane just like that. And of course, the young men speaking language I don't know, got real excited. And the door opens up, and 3 aliens walk out. And can you imagine trying to hold a camera like this, and they're so far away, they're zooming in, and they take off. And one was still out in the desert walking around. All of a sudden, boop, he goes up. Now, everybody, if you can, alien lands, UFO lands, 3 aliens step out. Then they take out in desert country, so you can find it. The other one is of a man in Suburbia, USA. He walks out the front door. He's going to go to his car. He takes a step off the deck, the front door, steps onto the pathway, takes a left, and as he does, he zips up. Same thing. And they interviewed this young man, and he didn't have an idea of lost time. All he knows is he walked out of the house and went to his car. When he discovered the video, yes, someone posted it, and then they're talking to him about it. He has no remembrance of that. That's because we're not supposed to know. How many of us, and Sharon and I've talked about this, zip away and then you return and you don't know it.
Right.
Maybe in the desert, I saw that. I'm going to speed up a little bit. They went, oh, no, you're not. Zoop, boop. How would I know?
Right.
I think that we need to be aware of that. And if they do land, and I'm seeing something happen. The last time I got that was like 3 years ago or 4, when I looked in this beautiful drive to look at the sky, and I went, we're not alone. They're going to be showing themselves. 6-8 months ago, I was telling Shar something's happening. This is going to be interesting. We need to get out there and do this. How long ago is that, Shar? Because I was really insistent for a while.
About 6 or 7 months, yeah. It's been a while.
Okay, so now this is about 6 months. So I'm picking up. We're going to see them on TV. We're going to have someone. Doesn't mean our country. It could be Japan. It could be China. It could be, well, in 1974, they landed and got out and talked to kids in Africa, these school kids.
Right, the school
that
kids.
was, yeah, so that was 75 or 80, something around there. They have landed. Now they're going to do it again. And possibly the one I talked to, because he said, we want to share the dirt with you, the land, the top part here. Made me think they were underground, but now they were out in the sky. And now they want to walk on our dirt. I thought that was interesting. We want to walk on this dirt. There was no other way we want to share the land. That's something they said, we want to walk on the dirt, want to be on the top side. So I do feel like that's happening. When they didn't give me a date on the calendar. It's like doing a reading. Everybody wants to know, when is this going to happen? Best I can do is, after 33 years, I feel time. And if it's close, it's near my chest, elbow like this, and then like this. So I can measure time by how far away it feels. It doesn't feel that far. I think it's before 2 years. But to them, it's time. It will happen. I'm really excited. Well, okay, the energy companies, I can see where that would be a problem. Yes, if they can travel, you think they're going to help us? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We're going to have better food. We're going to have clearer skies. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how many big businesses is going out? Will our jobs be at jeopardy? Not necessarily, because they're going to teach us and have us develop and do better medicines, that cakes industry, the better car productions. And of course, I just bought a new vehicle for big vehicle. So my vehicle will be outdated, but it takes time for things like that. But I feel like every time there's a big change in our lives, it hurts the person, then we recover. And I'm going to have a cat here in the face. I see. I think ultimately we'll benefit, because I've been seeing our planet's not going to go under. I see my granddaughters who are in high school, one of them marrying, having children. I just can't tell you everything I see because family could watch this, but I see a lot happening and continue to happen. I don't see the destruction of our planet at all. We're just going to have to change. And no, I don't like the heat either. And it has been hard. And the weather is changing dramatically. Is that the UFO people doing it? No, not at all. I personally think that recent volcanic action about 3 years ago, and I also believe that March 2011, the Japanese earthquake shifted the planet. The 2005 earthquake that killed 240,000 people was so massive, it shook the planet and changed the weather patterns. That's, I think, caused what we're going through. Yes, it doesn't help that we're having our skies, but I think there's other potencies that we're not thinking of. One of the statements was the volcano that went off, the years without the sun in middle Europe, when they kept records, there was 2 summers and the sun was never seen. Of course, that caused a lot of climate problems. People died because they couldn't grow their crops. That was caused by an earthquake, and not earthquake, a volcano. So I think the components is what we're going through is more than just us contaminating the sky. It's more. All right, Shar, anything else I didn't bring up? I brought up a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot to take in, but I mean, it's a fascinating topic, and especially in light of what happened this past week, with the whistleblower.
Well, it's not going to stop. I feel a buildup is coming. More people, more people.
Yeah, but you guys need to Google that whistleblower, because he actually worked for the government and knew people that were involved in all this. He's the one that came on and essentially said when he was cross-examined, even they asked him directly, okay, there were bodies found, yes, were they human or non-human? And then he paused and he goes, no, essentially the way he said, non-biological, non-human biological.
I just pulled up a couple articles. Letter written by Roswell witness details the craft of humanoids at the site. And then I just so many here. Okay. UFO whistleblower says he knows witnesses who have been harmed in effort to conceal information. That really bothered me. That really bothered me. Here's another whistleblower. UFO whistleblower says non-human biologics found at UFO site. Oh, Linda Moulton Howe, I'd love to hear her comments. She's probably all having margaritas tonight with all the ancient aliens, von Honiken, and all of these people that have been saying for decades, we're not alone. And she has been a real big advocate. I give her a lot of credit for stepping up and stepping out and being ridiculed at times. But like Dr. Boylan, he's not the biggest name, but I can't remember and give credit to the ones that are on ancient aliens or some, but they all are together trying to enlighten us to possibilities of our future being involved with these people. They're going to help us fly cars and they're going to help us, well, medical and keep it, but they're going to have conditions like we can't keep fighting each other. I'd like to see how that happens. Like we're killing each other, nation against nation. It just, I do feel like it's going to change our religions. So maybe the countries that are fighting about religion, it's not going to be the big deal anymore. I just got hit off of that.
And that's an opinion, guys. We don't want anybody blocking me on YouTube and coming after me for that.
Don't write me letters, everybody.
This is all conjecture and opinion, and we know as much as anybody else, but this is what we can look at. It's like putting the puzzle together.
Thank you for bringing that up. I've heard that on other shows. I'm stepping outside of, I don't like doing sometimes the big political things because whatever free will we have, I don't want people to think that I'm predicting that we have none. Over the decades, I've talked to you about decades and decades. I've talked to Shar enough times about things and everything keeps happening. And I go, shit, Nancy, don't talk to me anymore. Like, so how do we close up tonight? I had fun with this.
I did too.
Amazing.
It's a fun topic. It's amazing the stuff out there. And like I said, I'm going to try and do major dives into the web. Somewhere those photos are out there from that article that I saw as a kid. I know they're there. And they were so prominent. In fact, I even think they were on the front, the cover of the magazine. It was so prominent. That's why it was so impressive for me. So I'm going to dive into that. See, they're somewhere. They're somewhere. Monday, Nancy, hang out because I'm going to talk to you about StreamYard a little while offset here because there's things going on that are really cool with StreamYard.
Okay.
Monday. Now, you guys all know former Deputy Coroner Donna. And the work she did. Well, there's someone else that did similar work, and her name is Barbara Butcher. And she was a death investigator for, I believe, the city of New York. And she learned on the job. And so she's going to be with us Monday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, I think. You'll know anyway. And, of course, Sunday I'll be reading from Omnipresent. We're almost done with that book. Now, I wanted to ask Nancy something, since we're going to be coming to the end of that book. I would like to read The Uninvited on the air.
Okay. And your question is?
Can I read The Uninvited on the air?
How do you get... You have to have permission from the artist. I mean, I'm not getting a bad feeling if that's what you're asking. I think
you're the artist. That's your book.
The Uninvited?
No, you have 3 books out, right? What's the name of your 3rd book?
Unwilling Sacrifice.
That's it. Never mind. Okay, Unwilling Sacrifice. Sorry about that. I got confused.
Uninvited is a real book. Is a real...
Right. So I would like to read The Unwilling Sacrifice.
We'll talk about it. Okay.
All right. So stick around in the green room, and I'll tell you why after the show. All right. So I told you guys, of course, Sunday's going to be Omnipresent, Lynn Monet's book. Scary. That's a scary book. Really scary book. And I can honestly say, if I don't ground everything right here, I spend 3 days fighting whatever it is that's in that book because it screws my computer up all week. So, I just have to remember to really, really heavily ground. Again, Monday will be Barbara Butcher. She's going to be telling us about her career as a death investigator. Ooh. So that'll be an interesting show. That's coming up. And I think all next week's totally booked. So, there's really good shows coming up next week. And I've got a pre-record to do with somebody who's in New Zealand. And so that's going to be airing on Thursday. And then Tuesday, the lady that was on last night will be back on Tuesday. On Wednesday. She'll be out on Wednesday. And then I got something else going on that's really kind of cool on Tuesday. I can't remember what it is. I have to look it up because I'm seeing now. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. And again, if you could show me some love, give Nancy and I some thumbs up, some happy faces, some hearts, please do that. If you're watching from Facebook, you haven't done so already, follow me, follow Nancy. And we're just trying to build those numbers up. YouTube, same thing. Give me some thumbs up, show me some love. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. There's 681 videos over at YouTube, all kinds of topics, and there's probably something in there that you'd like. And maybe you're at home right now having dinner, right? You're home having dinner with your family, and you're watching us, and maybe you can just kind of call over and go, hey, there's this little show that's pretty cool. Come on over and check it out. That's how word spreads about the show, right? And again, if you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies, which if you want to build those numbers up. Thanks, everybody that came tonight to watch, and I will give you Nancy's information, and we can all start our weekend. Nice. Boy, this summer's gone fast, too. So here we go. So stick around in the green room, Nancy, and yeah, I'm going to take you off right now, and then I'll leave you in the green room. Okay.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay. All right. So here we go. I got a notice up here. What is this notice? New. Okay, I have to read this stuff. They're coming up with all kinds of new things on StreamYard. All right. Here's Nancy's info, and away we go. Websites: nancymatz.com, nancymatzauthor.com with the N, M, and A capped. YouTube.com/nancymatzpsychic with the N, M, and P capitalized. Book: Get me out of this funk, Nancy Matz. Two Worlds: Developing Your Psychic Skills. Okay, and the Unwilling Sacrifice. See, that's what it was. I was thinking of Uninvited, I don't know why, but, you know. Books could get Amazon Books. Okay, have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you on Sunday.